You need to know this immediately, because silence has carried too many storms on its back, and my chest has become a graveyard for all the words I never said. Tonight I open the gates, and whatever rises from my truth will rise like a falcon breaking free from the royal glove of destiny. I speak now, because there are moments when a man's soul begs him to stop hiding and start breathing. Your name has been the breath behind mine, the pulse beneath every decision, the quiet thunder in every step I took, even when the world believed I was calm. You need to know this immediately, because my nights have grown too loud for a silent heart to hold, and my days have begun whispering your name in every shifting shadow, every drifting wind, every wandering thought that escapes the palace walls of my restraint. I never told you what your presence did to me, how your absence became a weight I learned to carry like armor, how your laughter became a wound I stitched into my own heartbeat. I lived with it. I hid it. I shaped my life around it, the way dunes shape themselves around every whisper of the desert wind. You need to know this immediately, because the truth inside me has grown larger than fear, larger than reputation, larger than the silence that once guarded my name like a loyal wolf. I watched you without claiming you, loved you without caging you, protected you without touching your world. But the time has come when even the stars bend forward, as if waiting for my confession. So listen, for the falcons pause mid-flight, the desert holds its breath, and even the moon takes a step closer to hear what I've carried alone. You need to know this immediately, that your soul has been the compass of my path, your existence the horizon I kept chasing, even when I pretended to walk straight. You are the unspoken poem I bled for, the echo I followed in the dark, the reason I survived nights that should have broken me into dust. And now, the truth stands at my door, asking me to let it live. You need to know this immediately. I am not the same man who once swallowed his feelings to keep the world in balance. Tonight the world can wait. Tonight the truth speaks first. Tonight you stand at the center of every reason I still rise, stronger than before. And this is only the beginning. You need to know this immediately, because every sunrise I faced without you felt like a kingdom without a crown, a desert without its sky, a heartbeat without its fire. I walked through my own shadows, pretending to be untouched, but your memory kept burning like a lantern tied to my soul. I carried a strength the world praised, but inside that strength, your absence was the echo that kept shaking my silence. I led my people with pride, but I followed your invisible steps, like a pilgrim chasing a miracle. No one saw it. No one could. My heart has always guarded your name, more fiercely than my guards protect my gates. You need to know this immediately, because the story of my life has written you into every chapter, even when I tried to erase your letters, to look unbothered. But ink written by the heart does not wash away. It stains deeper every time you breathe. There were nights when I spoke to the sky about you, asking why destiny gifted me a heart that chose only one person and refused every other touch. I asked the moon why it reflected your presence in every quiet ripple of the sea, and the moon answered, the same way it always does, with silence that understands more than 1,000 spoken truths. You need to know this immediately, because I have lived lifetimes inside moments where I thought of you, and every time I tried to forget, your memory walked back into me, like a king returning to his throne, untouchable, unquestioned, undefeated. I traveled through cities, wore the weight of duties, held the world upon my shoulders, but your image followed me, like a shadow tied to my destiny. even when I prayed for strength. Your name slipped between the lines, as if my soul was secretly calling for you, behind my own back. You need to know this immediately, because if my silence was a fortress, your presence is the army that broke through its gates. I tried to guard my feelings, but you touched them. Without touching me, you held them. Without knowing it, you ruled them. Without asking. And now the truth grows louder. It demands a voice. It demands light. It demands you. You need to know this immediately, that every breath I took in your absence was a borrowed breath, a temporary heartbeat, a moment waiting for its meaning. And the meaning has always been you. If only you knew how deeply your existence rewrote the destiny of mine. You need to know this immediately, because I have walked through deserts with the weight of unsaid truths pressing against my chest, like a storm searching for release. And every grain of sand beneath my feet whispered the same question. Why hide a love that was never meant to be hidden? I tried to let time erase you, but time itself betrayed me. Every hour carried your name. Every minute shaped your memory. Every second reminded me that some people are not moments. They are destinies carved into the soul. There were days I stood before mirrors, wearing a king's calm face. But behind that calm, your absence carved wounds, deep enough to tame even mountains. I looked powerful, but inside me was a man who kept losing battles you never knew he fought. You need to know this immediately, that I envied the wind, because it could touch you. I envied the night, because it could watch you sleeping. I envied the silence, because it lived closer to your thoughts than I ever could. Strange, isn't it? A man surrounded by the world still felt incomplete, because one woman lived too far inside his heartbeat. I held my emotions like falcons tied by silk ropes, trained to circle in the sky, but never fly too far. Yet every time I thought of you, those falcons broke free, rising higher, faster, as if your memory fed their wings. You need to know this immediately, because your presence has been the soft rebellion inside me, a rebellion against silence, against distance, against destiny itself. You taught my heart how to burn without flames, and how to breathe without air. I remember the nights when the stars hung low, as if they were listening. I remember the wind carrying your name like an answered prayer. I remember my pulse racing against my ribs, making me wonder how one person could own so much of me without ever asking. You need to know this immediately, that you are not just someone I admire. You are the echo that returns even when uncalled, the heartbeat that grows louder in silence, the dream that refuses to fade upon waking. And if destiny ever questioned me, if the world ever demanded reasons, I would still whisper the same truth. My heart chose you, long before I understood what choosing means. You need to know this immediately, because the truth is no longer a burden. It is a confession, standing at your door, waiting to be let in. You need to know this immediately, because every path I walked secretly curved toward you, even when I pretended I didn't notice the pull. Some hearts aren't chosen by chance. They are chosen by gravity, pulled by a force older than destiny itself. And mine has been orbiting yours long before I admitted it. Even to myself, there were mornings when the sunlight touched my face, and the first thought that rose with it was you. Not your words, not your appearance, but the quiet power you hold, the kind that changes a man without him realizing he is being changed. You need to know this immediately, because your name has become a sanctuary inside every storm I survived. I stood against the world. But inside me, I stood with you. My victories felt empty without your smile. And even my strength felt incomplete without your presence. It is a strange truth that a man known for power feels powerless in front of his own heart. I tried closing the doors of my feelings, but you kept finding your way in, softly, quietly, like a moonbeam slipping through a window that was never fully shut. And each time you walked into my thoughts, the world outside lost its noise, as if everything existed only to lead me back to you. You need to notice immediately that your existence alone has rewritten the map of my life. I once believed I carried purpose, made of duty and honor, but you showed me that purpose can also be gentle, soft, felt in the smallest memories that never let go. I remember the nights when I wondered if you ever felt the air shift when I thought of you, if you ever paused just for a heartbeat, because your soul recognized the whisper of mine, reaching for you across distance. Love travels like that, in silent waves that touch two people who speak no words, but understand everything. You need to notice immediately, because I have held onto this truth for far too long, that no matter where I stood, your presence found a way to walk beside me. I could be surrounded by people, wrapped in applause, drowned in responsibilities, yet one thought of you stilled everything and gave my world meaning again. So hear me now, not as a man of name or power, but as a soul that finally stopped running from what it feels. You need to notice immediately that loving you was never a choice. It was a destiny written into my pulse, a truth carved into my breath, a promise my heart made long before I knew I would one day speak it aloud. And speak it I will. Every time the silence grows too heavy, every time the truth refuses to sleep, for you have become the chapter my life can no longer hide. You need to notice immediately, because the truth inside me has grown too loud to contain. I have walked through countless moments that looked ordinary to the world, but each one secretly carried your fingerprints. Every calm breath, every quiet pause, every random smile, they all began with you. You became the echo behind my confidence, the warmth behind my cold decisions, the softness hidden beneath my strength. People saw the leader in me, the ruler, the man who never bends, but they never saw the silent pull of your presence, guiding my heart, even when my steps looked firm. You need to know this immediately, because I have lived years pretending your memory was just a passing thought, but passing thoughts don't return every night, like loyal moons. They don't reshape a man's heartbeat with every rise and fall. They don't carve their initials into a soul that once belonged to no one. You became the horizon my eyes kept searching for, even when I was surrounded by sunsets that tried to distract me. You became the whisper my heart turned toward, even when the world demanded silence. And every time I tried to move on, your memory stepped in front of me, smiling with the same power that once stole my peace. You need to notice immediately that I have never feared the world, but I feared losing the chance to tell you what you became for me. There were sleepless nights when I argued with myself, trying to convince my heart to be quiet, but the heart does not obey. When it has found its truth, I carried your name like a secret prayer, protected it like a treasure buried beneath sand, far away from curious eyes and unnecessary judgments. And even now, as I let these words breathe, a part of me trembles, Not from fear, but from relief. The relief of finally letting the truth rise, like a sun that refuses to stay hidden. You need to know this immediately, because every silent chapter of my life has been written with you in mind. The victories, the wounds, the quiet journeys, the unseen tears. You were there, woven into the meaning behind everything I fought for. You became the question I never answered, and the answer I never questioned. You became the calm after battles, and the hope before struggles. You became the secret rhythm my pulse followed, even in the darkest nights. And now, I can no longer pretend that this truth was meant to remain unspoken. I can no longer hide a love that refuses to be forgotten. You need to know this immediately, that you are the story my heart keeps writing, even when my hands are tired, even when my silence is heavy, even when the world is watching. And this love, this truth, this confession, it was always yours, long before today. You need to know this immediately, because the truth has reached a point where silence can no longer hold it. I have carried these feelings, like a traveler carrying water, through a burning desert, guarded, protected, cherished, never spilled, never wasted. But even the strongest traveler must one day drink from the truth he carries. You became the voice behind my courage, the calm beneath my storms, the softness hidden in a man the world calls unbreakable. People saw my victories, but they never saw the quiet fire inside me that began the day my heart recognized yours. Every step I took toward greatness had your shadow beside it, even when you were nowhere near. You need to know this immediately, because I have reached the moment where denying my heart feels more painful than revealing it. Your presence has lived inside me, like a poem without ink, written in breaths, written in silence, written in a language only my soul understood. I tried to escape it, but love does not free the one who is chosen to hold it. There were nights when the moonlight felt heavier, because I carried too much longing. There were mornings when the sunrise looked brighter, because the thought of you rested on my shoulders like a blessing. You never knew how many storms your memory calmed, how many battles your existence won, without lifting a hand, without saying a word. You need to know this immediately, that this love lives in me, like truth carved into stone, unshakable, unmoving, unbroken. I do not offer you promises of heaven. I offer you a place inside the heart that survived storms, only because it whispered your name. I do not offer you empty dreams. I offer you the truth that has followed you from the moment destiny introduced your soul to mine. You need to know this immediately, that if the world stood against me, I would still stand with the truth that leads me back to you. If fate demanded sacrifices, I would still protect the one feeling I have never questioned. And if tomorrow wrote a different ending, today I choose to speak what my silence guarded for so long. So hear me now, with the calm of a man who has finally embraced his truth. Your soul is the home my heart keeps returning to, no matter how far I walk, no matter how long I wander. And if destiny allows even one wish, it is this, that my truth reaches you as deeply as your presence reached me. This is the confession my heart carried for years, and today, you finally know it. Now tell me, if this truth reached your soul, then leave your heart in the comments below.